Hey folks, welcome back to the BoardGame Sherpa channel, where we take the fear out of learning new board games. One of the questions I've been getting around this time of year is, what game should I get as a gift for someone? Most of the time it's for someone who wouldn't be considered a serious board gamer. And that's perfect, because if you want to know which expansion to get for Frosthaven, or one of the serious big box campaign games, I'm not the person to ask. What I am good at is offering suggestions for more casual gamers once I know what the person is into and what games, if any, they already own. So now that we're entering the holiday season, I want to show you 25 board games that could be great gifts for different people in your life. It's going to be a quick video, as I've done some sort of reviews on most of these games. I'll point you to these videos in the description. Full disclosure, I'm going to be putting a link with affiliate links to all these games in the description where you can buy each of these games on Amazon, and I'll get a small percentage of the sale. But I do say this with complete sincerity. If you can buy them at your awesome local game store, get them there. Your purchases are their lifeblood, and I want to keep as many of these great stores around for a very long time. I've lost too many good game stores near me in the last few years. But if you can't find a local game store that makes you happy, by all means, click the links in the description and give your BoardGame Sherpa, that's me, a nice gift that really doesn't cost you anything. And while I'm at it, if this video makes your gift giving easier this year, please click that like button and subscribe to my channel. It really does help the channel grow, and it certainly helps my mood knowing that these videos help people. And with that said, let's get some gifts for your friends and family, or possibly yourself. Okay, let's start off with the folks who don't play any games other than the basic Monopoly, Life, and Payday games. And they're great, but there's just so much more out there. This first batch of 10 games are gateway games. They're also known as introductory games. These games serve as an accessible and welcoming entry point for individuals who may not be familiar with the more complex board game mechanisms. These games I'm about to show you are easy to learn, relatively short to play, and have a tendency to make you want to play even more games. I have two videos in my channel called 5 Best Gateway Games, Volume 1 and Volume 2. So if you want a more detailed review of these games, please check them out. The link is in the description. Number 1, Carcassonne by Z-Man Games. Carcassonne is a tile-laying board game where competing players build a landscape with cities, roads, and fields. Players take turns drawing and placing tiles, and then put their meeples on their tiles to claim points for completed structures. There's even a phone app for this one. I'll admit I use the phone app more than the physical game, but I did learn to love the game using the actual board game. Number 2, Horrified by Ravensburger Prospero Hall. If you or your gift recipient like horror movies, urban legends, or Greek mythology, then Horrified is definitely a title you should check out. Basically, Horrified is a cooperative series of games where you play as townspeople who are fighting off iconic monsters by solving mysteries and completing tasks. There are 3 different versions of the game. One where you fight all the universal monsters such as Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, etc. And that's called Horrified Universal Monsters, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. There's also a version called Horrified American Monsters, where you fight Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, the Chupacabra, amongst other urban legends. And the third game is a game called Greek Monsters, where you fight Greek monsters like Medusa, Cerberus, and the Minotaur. I haven't tried all of them, but if they're anything like the Universal Monsters version, and you like that particular series of monsters, you're going to love these games. Number 3, King of Tokyo by Aiello Games. Okay, this one has been one of my top 5 games of all time since I played it so many years ago. And this is one of 2 go-to games that I break out when I see friends who are hesitant about playing board games. King of Tokyo is a fast-paced, dice-rolling game that puts you in the giant shoes of monstrous creatures vying for control of Tokyo. Roll your dice to attack, heal, gain energy, buy special powers, or gain victory points, all the while trying to knock your opponents out or gaining enough victory points to win. If you like Godzilla, King Kong, and the rest of the giant monsters, and you haven't tried this game, you're really missing out. Number 4, KingDomino by Blue Orange Games. KingDomino is a quick tile-laying game where players create their own kingdom by collecting colorful dominoes with matching terrain types. As monarchs, players try to create the most prosperous kingdom, scoring points based on the size and variety of connected regions. It's a very simple game, but the strategy involved can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. Number 5, Luchador by Backspindle Games. Luchador has been my number 1 favorite game for years. My personal BoardGame Sherpa, Johnny Rocks, knew I liked wrestling and brought this one out for me to try at one of the GenCons, and I never looked back. It has created some of the most memorable game nights of my life. There's a cardboard ring and you roll the dice to knock down your opponents, perform high-flying moves, and just entertain the crowd by grandstanding. With the right people, you'll be laughing so hard tears will come out. The newer version is called Lucha Wars, which is fun as well, but if you can find the original Luchador, grab it. Number 6, Settlers of Catan by Catan Studios. Settlers of Catan might be the most popular board game out there beyond the basic Hasbro Parker Brothers titles, and deservedly so. It's been around forever ever and has introduced so many people into more advanced board game mechanics. In Catan, players vie for control of the island by trading and building to create thriving settlements and cities. It has a board that changes every game, so there's plenty of replayability. Number 7, Splendor Marvel by Space Cowboys. If you or your gift recipient loves the Marvel Universe, this is the game to get. Along with King of Tokyo, this is my second go-to game that I break out when I see friends hesitant about playing board games. Splendor Marvel is a card-based game where players collect sets of gems to recruit, or assemble, their own team of their favorite Marvel Universe characters, and gain victory points which will help complete their Infinity Gauntlet and win the game. I love the original Splendor game, but when they branded it with the Marvel Infinity Stones, it got infinitely better. This is one of the first games to perfectly blend amazing gameplay and mechanics with a popular intellectual property. A truly rare thing to happen, and it's a great game. Number 8, Survive, Escape from Atlantis. This game was my personal gateway game. My personal BoardGame Sherpa, Johnny Rocks, was into it and asked if I'd try it even though I'd only played Monopoly, Life, and Payday prior. I said sure, and I became a board game lover instantly. In Survive, players try to escape an island sinking into the ocean. They have to get their meeples off the island into boats and sail through perilous waters, avoiding sea monsters, whales, and sharks, and reach the shore while avoiding opponents' attempts to sink them. Soon after playing Survive for the first time, I went on a board game streak trying to play most of the games in this group. Number 9, Ticket to Ride by Days of Wonder. Along with Settlers of Catan, Ticket to Ride is one of the most popular board games out there. In Ticket to Ride, players compete to build train routes connecting cities on a map, and they do this by collecting matching train cards and placing train miniatures on the board. Also, by completing specific routes, you score even more bonus points. Number 10, Tokaido by Funforge Games. Someone told me that if I liked the game of life, that I should try Tokaido. Well, I did. And while it's a totally different mechanic than life, I can see the comparison. Players travel on the East Road in ancient Japan, stopping at various locations to experience life. Activities like meeting characters, having meals, collecting souvenirs and artwork. The scoring is about finding harmony and balance in your journey, and you get more points for the more diverse experiences. One thing I didn't expect about Tokaido is how beautiful and calming the game is. The artwork is amazing, and if you play the right Japanese soundtrack over your game, you forget it's just a game. There are 2 versions to Tokaido, the basic and the deluxe. There's a price difference, of course, but the deluxe version comes with so much nicer components, and I'd recommend that version if you have the cash available. But you can't go wrong with the basic version either. There's also a new version called Tokaido Duo, which is designed specifically for 2 players, and you play from the point of view of the people you interact with in Tokaido, such as merchants, artists, and pilgrims. It's very clever. I haven't done a video on it yet, since I just got it last week, but I do expect to do one soon. Okay, those were my top 10 gateway games that I covered in my Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Great Gateway Games. This next batch of games are not difficult to learn and may eventually go into future volumes of Great Gateway Games, but for me personally, I picked them up after I'd been more experienced with games. And again, if they're on this list at all, you really can't go wrong getting them for your friends and family. Number 11, 5-Minute Mystery by Wiggles Games. This is Miss BoardGame Sherpa's favorite game. Whenever she's asked what she wants to play, the answer is usually 5-Minute Mystery. This is a fun cooperative murder mystery game. You analyze a photo and find 5 hidden items in there, enter the answer into the clever gadget called the Codex, and if you're right, you get a clue to the murderer. These clues eliminate quite a few suspects who couldn't have done it. The key part is that you only have 5 minutes to solve the crimes. This game can be quite crazy at times, but it's so fun, and it feels great to beat the clock. And if the craziness is too much for you, you can always stop the timer and play at your own speed, especially during your beginning games. Number 12, After Us by Pandasaurus. I just found out about this game at GenCon 2023, and it quickly became one of my favorites. I like this game so much, I did a whole How to Play review episode on it. Spoiler, I loved it. The theme of After Us is that the humans have blown themselves up, and the apes of the world have to form tribes on their path to collective intelligence. To do this, you have to collect resources by strategically arranging your hand of cards in front of you. Then, based on those cards, you get resources which you can use to recruit better apes into your tribe. And that will help you gain more resources and points. Number 13, Bandido by Helvetech. I started playing Bandido on BoardGame Arena. The problem there is that there weren't that many players who wanted to play it when I was around. But I love the game so much, I just bought the game and I play it a lot. The gist of the game is that there's a prisoner in a cell who found escape tunnels in his cell and progresses a little further through the tunnels on each turn. You and your partner join forces to place tiles to close up all the tunnels. Each new tile could either open up more tunnels or close a tunnel. And the longer it takes to get them all closed, the crazier the game becomes. If all your tiles run out without closing up all the tunnels, you lose and the prisoner escapes. The best thing about this addicting game is that it's small and inexpensive. You can carry it around in your shirt pocket. But You will need a big table to play though, as the game area can get big quickly. Number 14, Beer and Bread by Capstone Games. Beer and Bread is a wonderful two-player game where you compete to produce the most beer and bread. The gist of the game is that two neighboring villages on the land of a monastery are each famous for making beer and bread. The problem is that both villages share the same ingredient resources: water, wheat, barley, rye, and hops. Both villages use these resources to produce the highest levels of both beer and bread over the course of 6 challenging years. I did a full how to play video on this one if you're interested. Number 15, Bonsai by DV Games. Bonsai is a relatively new game that I found about at GenCon 2023. It's a very beautiful game where you create your own unique bonsai tree in your game area with branches, leaves, fruits, and flower tiles. At the end of the game, you tally up the points in your placements, and the highest score wins. But you're also rewarded with a pretty cool final representation of a bonsai tree. I only recently got this one, so no review yet, but it's totally a win in my book. Number 16, Boop by Smirk and Dagger. I'll admit, when I bought Boop, I didn't realize it was mostly for kids. But it's a really freaking cute game that has really challenging strategy. Think of it as tic-tac-toe with a 6x6 square, but with some cute cats and extra mechanics. And it has real fabric quilt that goes on the BoardGames box that really completes the look of the game. If you or your gift recipient like cats, tic-tac-toe, or if you even have kids that you want to play with, this is the game to get. I did a full how to play review video on this one if you're interested. There was also a separate game for sale called Boop. I haven't played that one yet, but I suspect it's the same game but with Halloween cats and a spooky background. Number 17, Dungeons, Dice, and Danger by Ravensburger Games. If you or your gift recipient like dungeon crawls but can't find a group to play with, then Dungeons, Dice, and Danger might be the best present. You can play with others or you can play solo, and both ways are equally awesome. This is a game where you use the right combination of dice to move along a path in a dungeon where you fight increasingly tougher monsters for gold and victory points. You can learn this game in 10 minutes and play anywhere, riding in a car, on a plane, lots of places. All you need is the dungeon map pad, a pencil to cross off where you've already been, and a place to roll dice. It's also designed by Richard Garfield, who made Magic the Gathering and King of Tokyo, so it has a great pedigree and it's well thought out. Number 18, Fit to Print by AEG. If you or your gift recipient ever wanted to run their own newspaper in a small town, Fit to Print might be the good fit. I found out about this one at GenCon 2023 and it was very popular. The gameplay is that you have to produce the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday editions of your local town's newspaper and have to produce the right combination of articles, photos, and advertisements. There is a timer element on it, so it doesn't last too long, but this one can get a little frenetic. If you or your gift recipient thrive on that, then this game is for you. Number 19, Heat, Pedal to the Metal by Days of Wonder. Heat is a game by one of my favorite publishers, Days of Wonder. They usually put out one game a year, but that game is usually great and it's really full of cool things to do, and Heat is no exception. You and your opponents race your car around a bunch of international raceway tracks using cars that shift your car and give you a boost. Go too fast and you'll fly off the track, go too slow and everyone passes you. There's also a really cool artificial intelligence game in the game, so you can have a full race with plenty of cars. It was the hottest game in 2022 and it was sold out everywhere for a while, but it's making its way back into stores. Number 20, Onitama by Arcane Wonders. I like chess, but I'm horrible at it. The strategy alone has countless books written about it, and it seems like nobody plays chess just for fun. On the other hand, Onitama is set with the backdrop of martial arts. Players maneuver their martial arts masters and students across a 5x5 grid. Each player has a unique set of movement cards that dictate how their players can move. A really cool twist is that after you make your turn, you switch cards, which creates an evolving set of possible moves. The goal is straightforward. Either capture your opponent's master or move your master into your opponent's temple. It takes all the best things about casual chess and puts them into one short, beautifully illustrated game. If you or your gift recipient like strategy and thinking games, this one will scratch that itch. Number 21, Sky Team by Le Scorpion Mask. Sky Team is a cooperative 2-player game that I found out about at GenCon 2023, and it quickly made its way into my top 3 favorite games. Players are the pilot and co-pilot of a jet coming in for a landing at one of the many airports with differing landing rules, and the 2 players roll dice to make sure a checklist of items are done before landing. Lower the landing gear, slow the engine, balance the axis, use the flaps, and make sure there are no planes in the air. And the hard part is that the 2 players can't tell the other what moves they are planning to do. They just do it. Sky Team is one of the most exciting board games I have ever played. The components are amazing as well. I did an entire how to play video for Sky Team so you can see how it plays before buying. Number 22, Star Wars Deck Building Game by Fantasy Flight Games and Disney. If you or your recipient like Star Wars, this competitive 2-player game might be the one for them. It is a deck builder game where competing players play as rebels or imperials. On each turn, they choose to get resources that can buy powerful cards, or use those cards to help destroy their opponent's base. Many of the ships and characters of this great movie franchise are represented here in this game, so you'll experience the deep world of Star Wars as you play. and you can talk to your super geeky Star Wars friends with a little bit of authority now. Number 23, Thunder Road Vendetta by Restoration Games. Thunder Road is another GenCon 2023 game, kinda. I bought the base game quite a bit before GenCon, but after playing it a few times, I just had to get the expansions from the Restoration Games booth at GenCon. You don't need them to play, but keep in mind that if you think you're going to love this game, it might be more financially advantageous to buy the deluxe Chrome version. I bought the basic one and spent way more than if I had just bought the Chrome one in the beginning. The gist of the game is that your team of 3 vehicles and a helicopter are racing along Thunder Road, and all players are trying to get one of their 3 vehicles across the finish line first, or cause all of your opponent's vehicles to crash and burn. If they're getting too far ahead, send your helicopter in to try and take them out. There's no mercy on Thunder Road. It's kill or be killed. And you know what? Sometimes you just need to play a game like this. Number 24, Trekking Through History by Underdog Games. Trekking Through History is part of the whole Trekking series of games. Trekking the world, trekking national parks, etc. If you or your gift recipient like Back to the Future or Quantum Leap, you'll probably like this game. You go back in time to correct problems in the timeline. Off the record, it's a great way to learn about history, but I wouldn't tell your recipients that. It's just a fun game, and if you happen to learn, so be it. Number 25, Quacks of Quedlinburg. And finally, one of my favorite games, Quacks of Quedlinburg. In it, players take on the role of a quack doctor who is creating potions in the town of Quedlinburg. Using a unique bag building mechanism, players draw ingredient chips from the bags to concoct potions. The goal is to push your luck and create the most powerful potions without causing your cauldron to explode. It's a really fun game, and if you like it, there are plenty of cool upgrades on Etsy to make this one even better. Whew! Okay, that was longer than expected, but that's my list of 25 games that would make great gifts to yourself or family or friends. There's a few more than 25 with all the different variations, but close enough. Like I said before, there's a link in my description where we can buy these games. But seriously, try your local game store first before you buy on Amazon. Helping keep the great board game stores alive is worth more to me than the amount that I would make on the affiliate link if you bought there. Now, if you don't have a store that's been good to you, by all means, buy from my links and help support my BoardGame Sherpa channel. There's really no cost to you. And speaking of supporting the channel with no cost to you, if you found this list helpful, please consider subscribing and giving a big thumbs up to this video. Do you have better suggestions? Post them in the comments. If one of my suggestions was a hit, please let me know. It does wonders for my ego, seriously. And go check out the rest of my channel. You might just find something you like. Thanks for watching, and have fun finding gifts for your friends and family. See you next episode.